Pay to win. A phrase you've probably heard many times before. Most people would describe it as the ability to become more powerful in a game by spending money. But what exactly does it mean? Why do so many people have such a vastly different interpretation of this relatively simple phrase? Why is there such ambiguity around three simple words? In this video, I'd like to look at what many different people think pay to win means, how it can be applied, and the fringe cases where it may not be the most accurate descriptor. Then we'll look at how people are reframing the monetization systems to still sell you power, but not be considered pay to win. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I'm Josh Strife Says. MMORPG games have many different monetization methods available to them. Some games you buy once and then play forever without needing a monthly subscription, like Guild Wars 2. Some games have a free trial that you can play for as long as you want, but once you do start paying the monthly subscription, you must continue doing so, like Final Fantasy XIV. Some games are buy once and then there's an optional monthly sub that gives you a few bonuses that you don't necessarily need, but they're a nice advantage, like Elder Scrolls Online. Some games have a free trial and then a members-only area that you can pay as and when you want to access it, month by month. That'd be RuneScape. There are many different ways to monetize your game, and several of these methods favor the players, but the most widely hated monetization method by a long shot is when your game becomes pay to win. Before we dive into exactly what pay to win is, consider dropping a like on the video or subscribing to the channel for more MMORPG content. Ring the bell for all the future notifications. As usual, a huge thank you to all the supporters on Patreon and Twitch who keep the channel alive. More on how you can support at the end. For now, let's begin. In this video, I'll have footage from various MMO games playing. They won't all be pay to win, but I will include the monetization methods for each game on screen. Depending on your own interpretation of the phrase pay to win, you may consider them so, and that's the first major hurdle with defining this phrase. It's so simple and short, it's open to many different interpretations, so let's break a few of the major ones down. The phrase pay to win is pretty simple. Paying money means you win the game, so let's go with that very simplistic version. Imagine you are playing a game. In the game, there is an amazing, super overpowered weapon. The only way to get the weapon is to pay real money. You cannot grind for it in the game, it's not dropped by a boss, and you cannot trade it with other players. Having this weapon makes you unkillable, and it's only accessed by paying real money. I think we could all agree this is an undeniable example of pay to win, and this type of system doesn't sit well with many players. The few who can and do pay will enjoy dominating those who can't, so those who can't will leave and your game will die. Game designers know that selling overpowered weapons or armor for real money is a great way to make money very quickly, but it's not sustainable, because once your player base realize you are doing this, the majority of your player base who are not paying will simply leave because the game becomes unfair to them. If you sell power, you will make money, but you will also alienate a massive amount of your player base, and this is not exactly a good tactic you want to go for when game designing. So what if there was a way to keep selling powerful things, but also keep all of the non-paying players around? What if there was a way to make those non-payers think that your game is still fair, even though it isn't? I'd say it's fair that if we all agree the only way to get a powerful item is by paying real money, the game by definition is pay to win, because getting that item is winning. But here's the trick many game designers are hoping that you will fall for. The most common argument against a game being pay to win is when people say to me, but you can get the item by playing the game. So let's explore that. Imagine you are playing a game and someone kills you. They have a super powerful weapon and you want that weapon. You discover you can buy it in the game's cash shop for 100 real pounds, or you can get it by killing a single simple boss in the game. A boss which any player can kill and takes about 1 hour. That's really a no-brain decision. You'll go and kill the enemy and get the weapon. It's only 1 hour of your time. That's easily worth it over spending £100. 1 hour of your time is worth less than £100, so you do that. In this example, the item has a real-world acquisition value, £100, but also an in-game time acquisition value, roughly 1 hour. To many people, spending the time of 1 hour is more efficient than spending the money, because the acquisition cost in time is less to them than the cost in money would be. Most people would happily lose 1 hour, but not £100, because most people make less than £100 an hour. Very few people will call this exact example pay to win, because to many people, playing the game is the best choice here. But what if we keep the mechanics of the situation exactly the same, but we change the values? Imagine if the superpower powerful weapon only cost £10 in the shop, but finding it in the game now takes 100 hours. The mechanics of it being available haven't changed, but now you may feel a bit differently about whether the game is pay to win or not. In this example, for many people, playing the game is no longer the best choice. Here we are looking at the acquisition cost of the item and asking, what's more valuable to you? £10 or 100 hours? Which of these would you rather lose? Now we're pushing into what many would consider pay to win, because spending £10 is now preferred over spending 100 hours. We can keep the mechanics of this situation the same and change the numbers to anything. If we use hyperbole, we can go to, would you rather spend a single penny or 10,000 hours to get the best weapon in the game? By now, pretty much everyone's agreeing to spend the money. But what this sliding scale, or not pay to win into pay to win, reveals is interesting, because it's not a defined moment. There is no one single accepted mark on the scale where the game goes from being not pay to win to pay to win, when the time acquisition and the money acquisition flip in their authority. That moment will change based on how much you as an individual value your time. Now, some people will argue that the ability to buy the weapon at all makes the game pay to win. Even if there is an in-game way to grab the weapon, the fact that it's in the shop at all for anyone to go and purchase makes the game pay to win. Because these items are also obtainable with time, this brings another element to the discussion. We now need to work out how much your time is worth to you, and I do this by basing it off the hourly wage versus how much time you'd have to spend in the game. If you earn £10 an hour, which is above the average minimum wage in the UK, you could say any progress in the game must be at least £10 an hour worth of progress. So if it turns out that you can get an item grinding for 2 hours or just buy it for £10, you're going to equate that item to time in your own head. You're going to stop working out how much money is it worth, and you're going to start looking at how much time is it worth. If the game says to you, hey, you can buy this item for X amount of money, or you can grind for X amount of time, you will work out whether the time and the money is worth it to you. But as different people earn different amounts of money, that switch of paying becoming worth it for you versus spending the time to get it is always in flux. If you earn £10,000 a day and there's a game-breaking item which costs £10,000 and takes a year of in-game grind to get, it's actually worth it for you to just buy it. And many others would argue the game is pay to win. But you could reply, no, I got this by paying, but you could get it by grinding. I got it earlier because it's efficient for me to pay, but that doesn't prevent you getting it. So having an item be accessible through both paying real money or playing the game doesn't actually prevent the game being or not being pay to win. But there's one major issue many people forget whenever they use the phrase, you can get it in the game. MMO games do not stand still. They are a live service medium, constantly being updated and expanded. And the time spent grinding toward a powerful item is also time creeping toward the next major game update and an even more powerful item being released. If you could spend money or grind for 2 months to get a powerful item, but in 2 months' time there's going to be another update with a better item, now you're faced with an even more predatory choice. The power of any weapon or armor in a game is judged based off the power of other weapons and other pieces of armor. You are the best in relation to others. If once you grind for the best item, another more powerful one has released, you never actually have the best. You will never get that feeling of superiority. Neverwinter did this incredibly badly. It would take you months to get the best item, and by the time you did, the new expansion was here, and your item wasn't the best anymore. In this case, paying for the item is your only choice if you want to use it while it is still the most powerful. And it's this design technique many people forget and companies use all the time, because hardcore fans of the game will instantly rush to the classic line of, you don't need to pay, you can get the items by playing. But they fail to account for the cost of the time investment, meaning even if you can get the items by playing, by the time you get them, they are no longer relevant in comparison to the other items in the game. But what if the shop isn't directly selling the item or the weapon? What if you can't go to the cash shop and just buy the endgame gear straight away, but you can buy small minor advantages that will make getting the endgame gear easier. You can buy a faster mount than anyone else can get. You can buy more inventory spaces. You can buy a revive potion for you or for your entire team. You can buy an upgrade item. Or if your game has an upgrade system where the item or the reagents may break, you can buy a special item which prevents the item breaking, prevents loss of the reagents. You can buy all these little advantages. And that's where the lines become blurred. Pay to win, pay for advantage. Are they just the same thing with extra steps? Many people say to me, you can't pay to win in this game because you can't just buy the best items or armor. You can only pay for an advantage. And this irritates me because it goes back to the same sliding scale problem from earlier. Any process in a game will take time, and if you can spend money to speed up that process, you are replacing time with money. And how much time you can or want to replace with however much money you have or are willing to spend will differ based on how much your time is worth to you. If you need to get to the next village in a game to complete a quest and walking there would take you 5 hours, or you can pay £5 to teleport instantly, you're asking yourself, is 1 hour of in-game running worth £1 to you? You'll probably take the teleport, get the powerful reward, join a team of other players doing some tough content and survive because you've got the powerful stuff. Your success and advantages then snowball. You could even go and find the other still travelling non-teleporting player and kill them with the powerful quest reward you just got. Just because you're not buying a powerful weapon or piece of armour directly doesn't mean you're not making the acquisition of them a lot faster. I mean, that's literally what paying for advantage means. You're still giving yourself the ability to access the win state faster. Instead of directly buying the sword, you're directly buying an advantage to go and get the sword. There's an extra step involved, but ultimately spending money still means you are getting to the win condition faster. If a company wants to sell you something, they need to work out whether it's a thing you want or a thing you need. If it's something you want, you can often just pass over it because people are pretty good with money. If it's something you need, you're much more likely to buy it. So they start selling you things you will need, like power. If you don't buy it, you'll fall behind. But then they realise that once the player base works out they're doing this, the player base leaves. So a company is in an interesting position, where they want to sell you something you need instead of something you want, but they also want to give you a way to acquire this needed thing without paying real money. Because that's the justification for saying the game isn't pay to win. If there is an item in the cash shop, but there is also a way to acquire the item in the game, they don't want you to acquire it in the game, because they don't make any money when you do that. It's in the game so they can point to that and say, look, it's not pay to win, it's in the game. If they really wanted you to acquire it through playing the game, it wouldn't be in the cash shop. The cash shop is full of things that you will eventually need. This makes the game pay to win. Even if you can acquire those things in the game through time, the company often forgets and hopes that you forget as well that your time is as valuable, if not more valuable, than your money. So how do we define pay to win? Well, unfortunately, because it's such a simple phrase, definition is difficult. There's a reason legal stuff is long and wordy. It's to be as specific as possible. If the definition of something really matters, you can expect pages and pages of very complex legalese explaining exactly what it is. The phrase pay to win means too many things because different people can have different definitions for when paying becomes winning, how much the paying needs to be compared to potential time investment, or what winning even is in an MMORPG game. Personally, I see the virtual world as separate from the physical, and any limitations you've faced in the real world shouldn't follow you into the virtual. And likewise, any advantages you have shouldn't transfer over. The great thing about the virtual world is the chance to reset the equilibrium, to have everyone on an even footing. It's one of the greatest strengths of online adventure games. We are all adventurers and we all start fair. But the more you allow the real world wealth to impact this, the less fair it becomes. One of the most beautiful ideals of the online adventure game is as long as two players can access the same game, they should start on the same footing, and their success in the game should be based on their understanding and their skill within the game. If putting more money into a game makes your life within the game easier, or gives you an advantage like travelling quicker, or carrying more, or getting closer to the ideal win condition as considered by the majority of the player base, someone will argue your game is pay to win. But if you can achieve all of these in-game without paying real money, someone else will defend it as not pay to win. because you can use your time instead. What the defenders often fail to address is what time is worth changes person to person, and how long you get to enjoy the item for will dictate whether it's worth paying or worth grinding. If getting an item would take 1 year, but within 1 year the item will become irrelevant, grinding is now pointless. Paying becomes the only way. Where does the line for pay to win or pay for advantage lie for you personally? How much money per item versus hour of grind is the correct balance point? Are there any acceptable examples of pay for advantage, or is selling power on any level at any amount always unacceptable because it cannot possibly be balanced to be completely inclusive? Let me know in the comments below what you think about paying to win or paying for advantage in games, and in the future I'll return to this topic and we'll try to find the perfect line, balancing cost and time. Cheers for watching. Another massive thank you to the supporters on Patreon and Twitch who keep the channel alive. You can support from only £1 a month. Check the video description for links to the Patreon, Twitch, Twitter and Discord. And as always, have a great day.